on a recent episode of the Outlaw Radio Network.
Some of our listeners even appreciated you dumbing it down for them. So, on behalf of
sometimes
Paul,
I have to mansplain for people like. By the way, mansplaining is when men explain things to a woman in a condescending tone. I just mansplaining.
Outlaw Radio Network, Sundays from 8 to 11, Wednesdays from 7 to 9, only on Megatalk.
Yesterday, my life was headed in one direction. Today, it is headed in another. You ever think the universe was against you? Fear, belief, love, phenomena that determine the course of our lives. These forces begin long before we are born and continue after we perish.
Our lives are not our own. We are bound to others, past and present. And by each crime and every kindness, we birth our future.
I won't let you go again.
I believe there is another world waiting for us, a better world. And I'll be waiting for you there.
You're listening to the Outlaw Radio Network. OutlawRadioNetwork.com.
Hi, Kevin.
What up, Tommy? How are you, buddy?
I'm good. How are you, buddy?
Good, good. I'm at T-Mobile Park. We just finished watching. Oh, by the way, welcome to Outlaw Radio Network, everybody. K-Dog, Black Tom, the St. Paul's on his way in. Lori, the CEO. We had to suspend her for one more shift because clearly she hasn't learned her lesson about what happens when you lose an election. And Dennis behind the boards doing all the good stuff that Dennis does. Anyway, so I'm at T-Mobile, and we just finished watching Cheap Trick, and they are getting ready for the 50th anniversary of Journey to hit the stage here in just a matter of minutes.
So your only opening band was Cheap Trick?
Yeah, Cheap Trick, and then Journey will perform, and then after Journey will be Def Leppard.
Oh, I see. Gotcha.
I don't know why Def Leppard's not opening for Journey and not the other way around. I mean, Journey should be the headliner, but whatever.
So this goes back to Tom was right again because Def Leppard is the headliner.
Yeah, it looks like they are the headliner. I won't ever say that Tom is right because then Tom will talk about gold and libertarian nonsense. And, I mean, listen, if Tom had his government regulations, there would be making people hanging from light poles, throwing people squashed out on stage. There'd be no security. There'd be no fire code. I mean,
if Kevin
all I hear is
yeah, Kevin. Currently, you sound like the video feed of a Mariners game.
Yeah, if Kevin had cell reception, we'd hear what he was saying.
I think that's a fair presumption. You know what the problem is? It's really clear what the problem is.
What's that?
He went to see Journey. I mean, there's no other realistic explanation. Clearly, there's far too much electronic interference with his cell phone from all the great big speakers because Journey's fans are getting so old, they need hearing aids.
What Journey's opening for a good band, Def Leppard.
Hold on. What did you just say?
I said Journey's opening for a good band, Def
Oh,
Leppard.
I just want to make sure I understand what you just said. You said Journey is opening for Def Leppard.
Just as you were coming in, Kevin and I were talking about that. So they just saw Cheap Trick.
Yeah.
And they're going to see Journey next, and then Def Leppard.
Well, that makes perfect sense. Clearly, Def Leppard's a better band. They're the headliner. Makes perfect sense to me.
I was picking on him, last week.
I'm surprised
about that order.
I'm surprised.
I'm surprised that order came to be.
Well, to think that Kevin went to see Journey because they were opening for Def Leppard. I mean, it's almost as good as Journey opening for Queen. That's all I'll say.
Oh boy, I'm going to stay out of that one.
No, you can get into it. It's fine.
Yeah, but I think you're both wrong.
Yeah, well, okay,
right.
Shut up, Tom.
Can you even hear me? Can you even hear me?
Well, yes, sir. Hey, we can hear something resembling your voice. I did hear you say, "Can you hear me?" It was garbled and broken up. Go ahead, Kevin.
Well,
I think I heard my name in that, but I'm not sure.
I'm making out what he said. He said Paul was right. Journey is clearly the better band. And now I know this for sure because they're opening for Def Leppard. I think that's what he said.
I'm the one answered. You can suck off. And I said,
I'm pretty
not
yeah. So he's acknowledging. I think that's what he's done. He's acknowledging what I just said.
All right, goodbye.
Hey,
goodbye.
We love you, Kevin. And in our best Journey voices, we're not too old to spin the wheel in the sky and keep on burning. I think he hung up. Did you realize
you would be accurate in that?
We just made Kevin hang up. He didn't get to hang up on nobody. He hung up.
That's true.
Take some pride in that, Tom.
Take
pride in that.
I think really he was just frustrated with technology. Because he is pretty quick and witty on the comebacks.
He is usually.
He really is.
Yes,
I mean, technology
except
kind
when
of
he
C-blocked
realizes
him.
that Journey is opening for Def Leppard. Up until that moment in time, I think he was speechless. That's what I think. I think he had nothing to say.
Yeah, I don't know. Because as you were coming in, we were also talking about how Tom is always right. Because
you generally are.
Yeah.
You're right more often than you're wrong. In fact, if you had to ask me, Paul, when was the last time Tom was wrong? I would struggle to tell you when I think the last time Tom. Now, we disagree on some things, but I do not believe that I can say unequivocally that you were wrong about something. We disagree about the China stuff. But that's not a right or wrong thing. That's a disagreement.
And time will tell.
I don't know. I can't think of something that you were wrong about. So he was saying that you were right because you said I think Journey's not the headliner.
Oh no. So I was just. So last week I was picking on him about how Journey should be opening for Def Leppard.
First of all, Tom, I'm going to give you a Donald Trump moment. Do not be so hard on yourself. You weren't picking on anybody.
Oh.
You were giving him what for?
Whatever.
What for?
Sure.
Yeah, there you go.
So last week I had made mention that Journey should be opening for Def Leppard.
And
then look how it came out.
Yeah.
So
now,
it was just
did he not know that buying the tickets?
I don't think he knew.
Okay.
I think the way
he
it
just
was
saw that it was Journey and Def Leppard and all that. Huh?
So I saw the ticket sales for that stuff too, and in K-Dog's defense, and being the rabid Journey fan he is, the way it was sold, it made it look like they were going through and like sharing the headliner.
They
spot.
may be. What if they could be doing something like rotating through?
That's what it is.
Like one night one guy is opening for the other, and
right.
So I could see that happening when
it's the same thing Def Leppard did with Motley Crue.
Makes
last
perfect.
summer.
It does make sense because, in all honesty, as much grief as I give him, between Journey and Def Leppard, if you had to tell me who's going to be the headliner, flip a coin. I wouldn't. I mean, they're both such top-notch groups.
Well, I mean,
except for the singer of Journey, whose head's too big for the rest of his body. Everything but that. You guys think I'm joking, but I'm serious. Look at him on stage. Maybe he just has tiny shoulders, right? I don't know what it is, man, but his head looks too big for the rest of his body.
He could be narrow.
Yeah. What? He told you he don't even have good childbearing hips, man.
Yeah, you saw Sorry I Married an Axe Murderer, didn't you?
I loved that movie.
Yeah. Heat pants.
That movie is like a cult classic
Yes.
to me. It just absolutely is. And if you've never seen So I Married an Axe Murderer, I'm telling you now, go see it.
You're
I think
missing
it was
some ridiculous
I think it was
Mike Myers
Mike
fun.
Myers' best. It was his best work.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
I liked it better than Austin Powers.
For sure. I did too.
Yeah.
I did too. I some of the Austin Powers gigs were funny, but they ended it funny.
Right.
Like to me, So I Married an Axe Murderer was actually hilarious.
Right.
That was like more legitimate humor. I'm not saying that one stuff is better than any others, you know. In fact, you guys will appreciate this if you haven't already seen it. There's a particular comedian who has a new live special that just came on Netflix.
Which comedian?
Matt Rife.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I will say this. His entire special is done with it's about him interacting with this crowd.
Yep. I saw
Did
it.
you see that?
Yeah.
The way that starts off, if that wasn't planted, it was the greatest beginning to a comedy show ever. And when he's like, I just want to talk to some people about what you're doing, da-da-da-da-da, and the first lady that stands up says, I sell sex toys and I'm living the dream. And he's just like, you got to be kidding. You know, and I'm just like, oh, my God, that was perfect. And then her mom was her boss, and her mom was in the room.
Yeah.
At the other side.
Yeah. Yeah. So Matt Rife has this reputation with the ladies. He's going to get tossed those like softball, interactions, just the easy stuff.
He is so quick-witted. I think
he really is
one of the most quick-witted people I've ever seen on stage, man. He really is a genius.
Yeah, I don't think he probably wrote very much material for that most recent.
I think you're right.
Yeah, it was all off the cuff.
And can we be honest? If you could make money just sitting down in front of 100 people, and you get paid a lot of money to do it,
to make
just
them laugh.
talking to them, and making them, like, what a dream come true, man.
No kidding.
Well, because you're a guy that's been on stage.
Oh, I'm terrible
as a comedian.
Oh, open mic stuff. I'm terrible.
Yeah, you are, but
I am.
don't.
I'm terrible.
Yeah, I mean, you are, but let's not. We don't need to go down that hole, right? Because it's a bad hole, folks. I'm telling you, it's a really bad hole. I love you too, Tom.
Thanks, pal.
I'm just having some fun here. It's okay.
No,
We're all good.
It's good.
Hey, thank you for joining Outlaw Radio Network tonight. We appreciate it. As long as your name isn't Kevin and you're not out enjoying a concert at the expense of the rest of us.
Oh,
my father,
it's not the expense of the rest of us.
My dad is at that concert too. I'm like, so many people I know are there.
Really?
Tonight. Yeah. So it's, it is what it is, man. And
that's fine. Metallica this past weekend. Everyone I know went to see Metallica.
I knew a lot of people that went there to see Metallica too. Those in and out of prison. And so I think that it's great. Here's a piece of advice though, folks. When you fight all the time in your relationship, don't go to a Metallica concert in an attempt to make up, okay? Or you end up like that lady on the ferry that got posted all over Facebook.
Oh, I saw that.
Did you see that?
Yeah. Has she been found?
Yeah, of course she got found. Listen,
okay. I never saw a follow-up to it.
Yeah, so I posted on it because, I mean, the story goes like this. This girl is missing. Okay, everybody's like, oh my God, let's pass it around, right? And then the story, a little bit more, like every 20, 30 minutes, a little bit more to the story comes out. And ultimately what it was husband and wife go to the Metallica concert, get smashed, have some sort of argument or altercation at the concert, come back, they got to catch the ferry. Husband goes and gets on the Bainbridge ferry. Wife walks on, supposedly on accident, onto the Bremerton ferry with 4 strange guys.
Oh.
I don't think I need to lay out a script for how that's going to turn out, right? I'm like, a concert, alcohol, and being pissed at your significant other, that's not going to really end well, I don't think. It's not that I'm making light of it, but it literally turned out exactly as I proselytized it would. And oh, good Lord. I don't have a lot of faith in humanity when it comes to those kinds of situations, and it's not saying that the 4 men were going to take care of the drunk woman who just had a fight with her husband. Yes, that's what I'm saying, because I know men, and they do. Men will intentionally put themselves, hey, this chick's drunk. All right, you need to be safe. Your husband's a bad dude. Come back to our apartment with us. We'll keep you safe. Is that your cell phone? I'll charge it for you. Click. Turning it off. That's just there's a lot of scumball dudes out there like that, man. And I'm not talking to our listeners. None of you are like that. But there are a lot of pieces of garbage men out there they'll look to take advantage of a woman who's emotionally vulnerable, maybe a little intoxicated or high or whatever,
both.
Or both. Yeah. So maybe it's just me. Am I wrong?
No.
Okay.
No.
Now you make me feel better. I appreciate it because you're never wrong. So
Yeah, I that's last I checked.
Last you checked.
Yeah. I had tiny instance of that same story. I
Did you really?
Yeah. Well, no, I just witnessed it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I went into an establishment to just pick up some stuff, and there were 2 ladies working. No one else was in the building except one previous customer before me, and I missed what he said, but the 2 girls that were working behind the counter, the guy had said something, I guess, kind of creepy to her, because and I've done business at this place before, so I knew both the ladies, and they both start talking and whispering to each other. I was like, I don't know what I missed, but ladies, I'm sorry, men are gross. We men are disgusting. I apologize for whatever that was. And they both look at each other and look at me and then look out the window, and it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, like he was gone. Yeah. And you're right. Men are, generally speaking, we most men are not relatively intelligent. Like when you compare to them, women their own age, like generally the women are smarter, the women are more mature, and the women tend to make, I won't say necessarily better decisions. They just tend to make decisions that are more grounded.
They're just different decisions.
Yeah. Until about the age of 40, men are pretty much thinking with the wrong head all the time. And that's how it goes, man.
Until 40?
Until about 40, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. When did you start using your brain?
I haven't yet.
Damn, dude. All right. I take that back. Everybody but Tom. I don't know when sex drive is supposed to go away. All I know is I lost the damn directions on how to get there, okay? That's all I'm saying. I'm leaving the rest of it alone. Now, if Kevin was here, here, we could really have some fun with that topic. We could absolutely have some fun with that topic. Do you want to know why we could have fun with that topic?
I think that topic could spin Kevin in 2 or 3 different weird directions.
It would depend on his mood. Yeah, we'd have to totally read his mood.
Yeah.
Because it could be in one of that, oh, this is going to draw attention to me, I'm going to love it kind of Kevin attitudes. Or it could be the, shut up, Paul, I hate you kind of Kevin attitudes.
That's a common one.
Yeah, it is. It is. Or, which is actually a disguise for him thinking, oh, this is going to draw more attention to me. But then there's the real, oh, crap, there's women in the chat room that I want to date right now. Shut the hell up, Kevin mode. So, you just got to learn. You look at his facial features, and the looks that he gives you. Which eyebrow he raises is a big indicator. And whether or not he raises his voice 2 octaves.
Oh, and now the octave thing I catch. But
you
the
hear
eyebrows,
that, don't you?
Yeah, the eyebrows I don't, because your head's in the way
true.
usually.
My head's big, yeah. May rephrase that. My cranium is large and in charge. Okay, so listen, we've got some fun kind of topics to talk about tonight. And I know that you have posted some and I've posted some. And I know we're getting ready to go to break here in a second. Let me ask you this, Tom.
Okay.
We've seen some interesting things go on in about the last 2 weeks in this election cycle.
Okay, I was going to say interesting things in what sphere?
Yeah. That sphere, the election cycle.
National?
National.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And I'm curious what you find to be the most interesting and the most troubling, because to me they're one and the same. And we had the interview by Dana Bash on CNN of Vice President Harris and her running mate, Walz. In watching that, I'm fairly convinced that she had notes with her, because she kept looking down.
Probably.
And whenever she would get stuck, she would turn and look at her partner. None of that bothers me. What bothers me about the whole thing is that I felt like she was not prepared. Felt like she was effectively, she felt like, you know how when you're in high school and you're out with a bunch of your friends, say, at a football game, and, some people from the opposing team are razzing you and giving you grief, and you got all your friends there to hold you back so you can be tough, and you're like, I'll take you all on, because your friends ain't going to let you get your ass kicked, right? That's what I felt. It was like, she was like, I got, it's Tim Walz, right? Tim Walz. sounds weird all on its own, but her running mate Walls was there,
right?
And I just felt like she was a different person, and she had a level of confidence maybe she wouldn't have otherwise had because he was there. That's how I felt. So what I'm curious from you is do you think I have a reason to feel that way, or do you think that I'm off base? Actually, I better ask you if you actually saw it, because it would be pretty rude of me to ask you that and you hadn't. Seen
the actual interview, like when it live, no, but I was able to go back and get recaps.
Okay, so even if you watched it Memorex,
right.
Still
so
cool.
I'm up to pretty much up to speed, up to snuff with it. My immediate response is that it's just more election noise.
Well, this is what I'm interested about. What do you mean by election noise? Is that stuff that you should be listening to or not listening to? Is it fluffer stuff? What is it?
I pay attention to it because, we discuss it, right? Do I think it's important? No. The next important thing will be the Harris-Trump debate. That will be important.
Well, that's next week.
Right. Yeah, so right now I think all the networks are doing, the mainstream media, they're just looking for fluff and something to put out there and talk about Harris and talk about Trump because they want to sell advertising. But is there anything important right now? I don't think so. Not until debate time.
That's kind of where I'm stuck at with this, and I'm scared for this election. I wasn't, but I'm seeing this consistent pattern playing out. The consistent pattern being that the mainstream media is basically running flat-out interference for Kamala Harris.
Oh, yeah.
So that she doesn't have to be accountable or answer to anybody or answer any of those questions. Tim Walz was asked a question last weekend. He was at one of the state fairs.
Okay.
And he was with a few of his guys, and he was eating an ice cream. And, oh, that's great, man, right? And he gets asked the question by the reporter, Governor Walz, what do you think about the murder of the hostages by Hamas? You see him look right at the reporter. Then he looks over his shoulder to the right at one of his people and raises his hand and goes, okay, thank you, folks. Have a good night. Like, he paid attention to the question. He heard the question, and he acknowledged it through facial gestures, then turned and looked at somebody else. And this all happened very quick over the course of a few seconds. Sure. You could tell one of his people said, yeah, we're not answering that question, or something to that extent.
Right.
And so his response was, okay, everybody have a good night.
Yeah, he just ended it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That pisses me off, man. That really makes me angry. And it makes me angry because it's incredibly dismissive of the issues that we have going on right now in the world.
Right.
And it is exactly his behavior that is exactly the same behavior that he expressed during the riots.
Well,
and in Kenosha when half the town burnt down, and his wife said, I opened the windows so I could smell the tires burning. That's how dismissive it was. And it made me want to puke.
Well, different reasons for the dismissiveness. So, the reason he dismissed that question is he doesn't want to alienate any voters.
I agree 100%. Yeah. He didn't want, because a big part of the Democratic base are pro-Palestinian folk. And listen, be pro-Palestinian, that's fine, but they're effectively pro-Hamas by default, the way that they're approaching this.
Well, the problem for Harris Walz is the fact that the Democratic voting base is split on the Israel-Palestine issue, and they're split passionately. So, if you come out and say, oh, we support Israel, they're not going to vote for him.
Well, some of them aren't.
Yeah,
but
they'll vote Stein or Green Party.
And here's the thing about that, because I've heard that argument bantered around. I don't think that it's going to be that big of a percentage, and I say it like this for this very simple reason. I think most of those Democrat voters are so hard to the left. The voters that are actually split on this issue are so hard to the left when it comes time to actually voting, they're not going to do anything to hurt Kamala Harris. Which a vote for anybody else would hurt her, and I think that very few of them will choose to not vote because their hatred for Donald Trump it outweighs everything.
Well, by not voting, they're harming the Harris.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. So they don't vote, or
which still helps Trump.
Yeah, or they choke it down and vote, or they vote for a third party.
Yeah,
but
I don't think voting for the third party does any. I don't think that does much. I think it'll be very few of them, but that's that. So hey, listen, folks, tune in or you're schmuck. Don't go anywhere. I'll come looking for you. All right, it's the Outlaw Radio Network. In fact, better yet, if you're single, I'll send Kevin to your house.
Wait a second.
Yeah, I'll send Kevin over to the house, provided it's a woman. I wouldn't do him wrong like that.
I was gonna say, wait a second. That was
Outlaw Radio Network. Back right after this.
Live on Facebook.
Very good. Hey, Dennis, I just sent you a in the chat room a Trump ad about Kamala Harris. So when we get back, whatever it takes you to get ready to play that.
I'm gonna have to just play it over the mic off my phone.
You want to play it that way, or I can play it off of mine too if you want.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
no problem.
I don't have. I'm not patched in.
No problem. We're all good. I know that there's been. I don't even want to say issues. There's not really issues with it, but it's just we're doing some things a little bit different. So that's okay. It's all good. We'll figure it out. All I got to do is take off my Bluetooth. Oh, interesting fact. Do you know what is the sign for Bluetooth on your phone? Oh, you're gonna sneeze? God bless you, my child. For you are sneezing.
Looks like a bee made out of arrows.
Yeah.
yeah.
So, which is the symbol for Bluetooth.
Right.
Do you know where Bluetooth comes from? The word.
Nope.
Blue raspberry Kool-Aid?
Well, you guys have as much of a clue as I did before I found this out and watched a documentary on it. Bluetooth is made by a Swedish company.
Okay.
And Bluetooth, where their corporate headquarters is built, is right next to a rune stone marked as the burial place for one King Harold Bluetooth.
Oh.
And the bee and the little bee symbol is it was the runic symbol for King Harold Bluetooth.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's Sean in the chat talking about King Bluetooth.
Yeah, and he was the great communicator.
Never heard of that.
He was the first. He was a Jomsburg Viking, which is actually in Wolan, Poland. Jomsburg is, although they have not found the archaeological remains of the city yet. So if anybody's watched the season 2 of Vikings, they will have heard of the Jomsburg Vikings.
I keep trying to start that show, and then I get distracted, or my schedule gets goofed up, and I've made it like 3 episodes in.
They did the first, second, and third season, and that's it. It's over.
Okay.
So they shortened it up. But it was well done. It was worth it. It didn't drag the story out as long as, because the first Viking series was only supposed to be 4 seasons, and they stretched it into 6.
30 seconds.
Actually 8, because some of them were 2-part seasons and stuff like that. But anyway,
I think that's
really
the season I'm talking about. I haven't seen any of them yet. I keep on History Channel.
Okay, yeah. Or whatever other, like it's on Netflix now. You can watch it on Netflix.
Okay, well I have access.
It's
to
worth
both.
it.
Coming back.
This is the Outlaw Radio Network.
Thank you, Outlaw Radio Network. We're back. I'm thinking, I can see the eaten grin on Tom's face because Kevin sent a picture to us in our chat room. And I always joke about how the lead singer of Journey, and I forget his name, but he's a super talented singer.
Arnel Perneda.
Yeah, talented singer. He was actually found in a karaoke bar of all things. And he's a young Filipino guy. In fact, I think they might have found him in the Philippines. I don't remember. But anyway, super, super freaking talented. The dude's got pipes. He really can sing. And so I don't take nothing away from him. But I joke with Kevin all the time. I'm like, his head's too big for the rest of his body. Just like I was saying earlier, right? And so he took a picture of him on stage singing. And Dennis, you'll have to tell me if I'm right or wrong, or if I'm smoking something. You could take a look at the picture and tell us, Dennis, is his head too big for the rest of his body, or his shoulders too narrow? Like did he get squeezed out a tiny birth canal or something and it kind of crushed him, or what?
I totally get what you're saying. He's very narrow.
Yeah, very narrow. Yep.
And so, yeah, I get where it doesn't quite fit.
It's totally horrible of me, isn't it? It makes me a horrible person to say something like that.
And if it were truly the 80s, though, he could balance it out and, put on some shoulder pads.
Shoulder pads. Yes. Oh, my goodness. Yes. Oh, my. Yeah.
You can have Insta shoulders in no time.
Right. All right. So let me pull up this ad here, and I'm going to play this. And let me turn up my volume. And I'm going to try to do this like not Kevin, because every time Kevin goes to try to do this, he always forgets to turn the volume up. And it has to go, oh, crap. Hold on. So. Okay, so now I get you're leaving our app thing.
Do spread meat specifically? Yes.
The Boston Marathon bomber, they should be able to vote?
I think we should have that conversation. Abolish ICE. Yes. Would you ban offshore drilling? Yes, I'm in favor of banning fracking. I am prepared to pass a Green New Deal. I support a mandatory buyback program. We're not going to treat people who are undocumented cross-border as criminals. The idea that more police equals more safety, that's just wrong.
Policing, as we know, goes all the way back to slave patrols and that idea.
Yeah, you are absolutely right.
Where do you stand on defund the police?
We need to take a look at these budgets. Do you ban plastic straws? I think we should. 70 to 80% tax rate. I think that's fantastic.
Chip in now to the Minnesota Freedom Fund.
How dare we speak Merry Christmas? Yeah, I am radical. I do believe that we need to get radical about what we are doing.
I found that of all the ads, those are the ads right now that are the most effective because it's Kamala Harris in her own words, right? So if we look back 3.5, 4 years ago to the last time when she ran for president, she dropped out before the first primary. Mm-hmm. She got no votes from anybody. And now here she is being propped up. Remember, 4 months ago, Democrats were talking about how she needed to be replaced on the ticket. Right. That's how bad she was.
Right.
And her favorability was at like 18%. This was a horrible candidate, and people were like, well, the president's going to have to replace her to have a better shot of beating Trump. That was the talk. And all of a sudden, that debate happens, and she's suddenly the Messiah.
Until the next debate. Because ultimately,
I'll tell you on Wednesday, because it's like, what is it, Tuesday or whatever?
I don't remember.
I don't know. It's the 10th, whatever day that is.
Yeah. Ultimately, I do think the system works for the most part.
Oh, I'm not suggesting the system doesn't work.
Yeah. So when the American people get a chance to actually listen to her in her own words, not things that have been minced up and diced up and moved around or sound bites or anything else. It's just they get to hear what she has to say about a question in the moment.
Mm-hmm. That's my problem why I say that I'm scared, by the way, because I feel like we're seeing the mainstream press, the for-profit media, running cover for her. Donald Trump, as of today, Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, since Kamala Harris stepped in, they have done 37 either town halls, debates, or televised interviews.
Right.
37.
Yep.
She's done one.
Oh, one?
The interview with Dana Bash.
Yeah.
Okay? So you've got one set. Now, listen, I'm not telling people you should vote one way or the other. But as Americans, we have a civic duty and responsibility to vote. How are the American people supposed to vote if they don't know how one candidate stands on issues? And people...
We will next week.
Will we, though?
We'll find out because if there's not a good answer, I still think that there's going to be accountability with we the people. I mean, that's what happened with Biden.
I'm there with you, man. But again, right now the polling data shows that half of Americans want this woman as president, and they don't know a damn thing about what she wants or what she supports, and they are wanting to vote for her now. And early voting starts next week, man.
But prior to the Trump-Biden debate, half of America wanted Joe Biden. Because
he was way behind in the polling data. Like he was behind like 8-9 points.
It was still half. When you get down to
it was about 40%, and he was underwater polling data. Like his likability factor was below Kamala Harris's. It was bad, and that's why they told him he had to go the way of the dodo.
So it was bad because his administration and his policy has beat up the American pocketbook. And when Harris comes in and starts answering all the same questions, and the American people see that they're going to get a second verse, same as the first, I think it's going to sway. Then.
Look, you're right.
But I think it's going to sway.
We need an honest media that's willing to say that
We're
stuff.
never going to have an honest media.
No, we're not. But
You know,
that's where it comes down to people like us really like standing on the rooftops yelling at the top of our lungs.
But it's not just the media. I mean, we were talking about that, and I know we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got other examples of corporate, influence.
Yeah.
That's the right word, influence.
Yeah, influence. Yeah.
So
so you're gonna sit there and you're gonna tell me, Paul, the American people will get this right. Is that what you're saying? Make me feel better, Tom. No, really? Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
No, I'm saying I hope the
Yeah.
American people will get this right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
I was hoping for a little bit more change at the end of my month while Barack Obama was president. That didn't happen either. Little hope and change, baby.
right, but what you think is right and what I think is right, are probably a couple of different things.
What? Hold on. Now this is interesting.
Right.
But I think that if I say "Thou shalt not kill," you'll say what?
Oh, I'll agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, so we're on the same sheet of music.
I'm talking about the answers to the election.
Okay. What do you think is right?
So what do I think is
Yeah.
right? Ultimately,
I want to know
okay.
whether or not we're going to get along,
Yeah,
or if I'm going to pummel you on the way out the door. No.
So
or
ultimately,
get pummeled.
Yeah. Ultimately, I think what's going to happen is Trump is probably going to win. I think everyone who looks at this in a super partisan light is not that they're not looking at the common sense, like the day-to-day stuff. Everyone's being very partisan
Agreed.
and very
Agreed.
agenda driven about
Agreed.
it. And this election is going to come down to the dollars and cents of the American household.
I hope that you're right. So generally, I'm agreeing. So look, we are agreeing on the same stuff.
Yeah.
So
Now-
acknowledge, please, that I generally am right.
I think
And
we're
you're
going
just
to agree there.
agreeing. Yeah.
Right. Now, what I think is most important is that we see fewer people voting for the blue or the red, the DNC or the GOP, and we need to see more people going out and exploring other options because we're way too polarized.
So listen, I don't disagree with that at all. But we are.
This is
70 days away from a presidential election. Now's
Yep.
the wrong time to explore that stuff.
No, this is the time to explore.
Okay, well,
that
let me
stuff.
tell you why I think that you're not wrong. So I want to make sure I phrase this correctly because it's going to sound like I'm blasting you or something, and I'm really not.
No.
But all I'm saying is that to me, the time to explore that is like next spring after the election is done, because if and this is my greatest fear. You're talking about people exploring a third party option.
Yep.
As bad as this country is, because people are polarized, what do you think it would do to this country, right? If somebody wins this election with like 42% or less of the popular vote. What I'm saying is, if we get 20% that vote libertarian, right? Now all of a sudden we've got a president that does not have a mandate, but did get enough electoral college votes. And to me, a president that doesn't have a mandate in a country that's polarized is dangerous. So go ahead, tell me where I'm wrong.
So it's not wrong. It's just the way it's going to happen. It won't be that drastic.
Hold on. Sponsorship moment. This libertarian moment brought to you by Black Ring Spirits. Thank you, Sean.
So I mean, the popular vote isn't going to change the electoral college.
Generally, no.
Right,
You're
and the
correct.
electoral college is going to select right now. In this election cycle in November, that they will select red or blue.
That's not true. We saw that when Trump was elected in 2016. We saw it right here in Washington State. They televised the Electoral College in Washington State. You know, some of the people that those folks voted for weren't even on the ballot.
No, right.
Okay.
There's going to be outliers. There's outliers every election.
Okay,
I mean, there's so many numbers there. There has to be outliers. Just math.
That's
says
why I
so.
tell Kevin there's hope.
Yeah, math says there will be outliers.
Yeah, agreed.
Right. This election will go either red or blue.
Okay.
Right? And the Electoral College will be what it is.
Okay.
Right? Red or blue.
Okay.
A success, in my opinion, is the popular vote exploring some other options.
Like
so
what kind?
So
what kind?
If
without causing a kerfluffle, right? Because of people getting pissed off. And I think, do we both agree, no matter who wins, there's going to be some, like if Donald Trump loses, I don't believe we're going to be looking at cities burning. If Donald Trump wins, I believe we very well could be.
I agree with that for the most part.
I think generally speaking, Republicans and conservatives place a lot more value on their values.
Right. So I think what it's going to take for the conservative portion of the population to act out, like burn a city or something.
I think it would take an assassination.
I don't think it'd take well, it could. I think an assassination could trigger it, but I also think it could be something very extreme, right?
Yeah.
So if
something
the Supreme
extreme by the
Court
left
were to get stacked,
Okay.
right? And
yes, you're right.
And then
do it.
Congress were to get stacked, and then someone goes and does something that infringes on
Second Amendment,
or First Amendment. Well, First Amendment would flare up anyone.
And that's that's the one thing, the point that Kevin keeps hitting home. He basically accuses the right, people like me and others that think similar to me, of basically being all talk and no action, because he's like, oh, people on the right have been saying, don't push us around for years, yada, yada, yada. And I keep telling him they haven't pushed nearly hard enough.
It's a different trigger.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's because all the rest of it really is just
I'm glad
noise.
we understand each other.
Yeah,
this allows us to have that adult conversation. I love you too, Tom. Is that ice good? Because it sounds like it.
Oh, sorry.
No.
Yeah, damn it.
I'm just giving you grief, man. It's all good. So this is an interesting conversation, and I'm glad we're having it. And it all goes back to my point about that commercial. Those types of commercials, playing Kamala Harris in her own words, to me, that's the only way that people are going to hear the truth about her, because I don't think the mainstream media is going to pull it out.
No.
When we listen to the Dana Bash interview, when she was with Donald Trump, and you could listen, or J.D. Vance is another one, you could listen to her interview with J.D. Vance where she was accusatory in the questions, right? And she was hard-hitting in the questions. I didn't have a problem with any of her questions. They were hard-hitting. They were what a journalist supposed to do.
Right.
But then as soon as she interviewed Kamala Harris,
she was lobbing softballs.
It was not only lobbing softballs, but she was providing answers.
Right. Yeah, it was almost T-ball.
Yes, and it's just like, what are you doing? She's like, well, how come you changed your mind about fracking? Is it because as you became vice president, you had access to more information, so it allowed you to change your mind? Is that why? That's what her stuff was like, and I was just like, this makes me want to vomit. The Fourth Estate, when I started doing radio, I still felt like there was a place for the newspaper. There was a place for radio. There was a place for journalism, even though I wasn't a journalist, right? I could be. I could have chose to be, but I felt too passionate about certain issues like the Second Amendment and abortion.
Right.
So I knew I could not be neutral, which meant I couldn't be a journalist. I didn't possess the ability to be truly neutral on everything.
A real journalist, because those journalists don't exist anymore.
I don't have. It's harder and harder to find any, man.
Yeah.
And off the top of my head, I could think of a few. And when I mean that, even those that I'm thinking of, they still have their own. They're not broken, but they're a little bent. Brett Baer on Fox News does a very good job of trying to maintain a journalist's perspective. Wolf Blitzer tries to maintain the little bit of journalist perspective. I mean, there are a few. Dan Abrams on News Nation tries to make
okay.
And
the first guy you brought up on Fox, I don't recall any.
He's a middle of the day guy here on West Coast time. He's a middle of the day guy, right? He's a 1 o'clock in the afternoon our time kind of guy.
Oh, I'm never available at 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
So well, listen. The greatest thing for a guy that does radio like me was smartphones.
Oh yeah.
Because even while I could be painting a house, I could be doing a roof, doesn't matter.
Yep.
I'm listening to something.
Oh, me too.
And I mean, that just is like, what I feel like because of the smartphone?
Yeah.
Do you remember Star Trek: The Next Generation?
Yeah.
Do you remember the character Wesley Crusher?
Yeah.
And how he was always like learning
Wheaton.
something. Will Wheaton, yeah. He was always learning something or right? I feel like, okay, pick up my phone. Hello, computer. please give me a podcast about 17th century Italian lifestyles.
Yep.
You know, like whatever I felt like learning about. And I play that game with one of my kids, with Aiden, my stepson. We'll get up in the morning. I'm like, what are you doing today, right? We did this all summer long. And I'd say, okay, when I get home from work, I want you to give me a 5-minute presentation about Solaster Stemsoni. And he'd be like, what is that? I'm like, write it down.
Yep.
So he'd spell it phonetically. I'm like, figure out what it is and tell me about it for 5 minutes when I get home. And so it's a game that I made it a fun game.
Sure.
Right? And so he would go figure this stuff out. And then I'd get home and go, you could have just said a sun star. You know, it would have been a lot easier to look up if you'd have said a starfish with 22 legs, you know, stuff like that. Right. And so, and he enjoys it. Although,
it encourages a curious mind.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And for that kid, that his mind is, you know, I mean, he's only got 3/4 of one kidney. So he will be limited in the things he can do as he gets older because he was born with only 3/4 of one kidney. He's not, the space isn't there to just add another one in.
Right.
And the plumbing isn't there for it. So, so he can't just go get a kidney transplant, right? Or have one put in. So, I feel for him, and I tell him all the time. I said, you need to grow up and like be a scientist or something like that gives you great satisfaction. Just whatever you want to do, whether it's being an engineer, or whatever. And I just keep pushing that for him. So we'll see. You know,
well, medical technology is going to make huge changes in the next decades too.
Okay,
he's young.
I'm gonna say this because I know that there are certain people listening right now. And if you are, you know who you are, and I love you, but there are no such thing as med beds, okay? Nobody has invented a bed that uses this top secret technology to heal whatever ails you.
Not yet.
I'm sorry, but that doesn't exist. And the people that push that kind of BS are disgusting human beings. Like the best part of them ran down mama's thigh.
That's probably medical technology 100 years from now. Maybe.
Right, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, with really, really good AI.
Yeah. Well, and
if it doesn't kill us all first.
The idea is that's being pushed is that there's a secret space program. And look, that could be true, and I wouldn't doubt that, right? I mean, when you think about UFOs and what we have and the people that have come out and released information and stuff, okay, so that might be true. But there's no way that they've created this bed that can cure anything when you just go lay in it. That is science fiction stuff. Although, oh my God, that brings me one more that I'm going to throw out there. Oh. And if you're one of these folks on the left who actually goes out and is pushing this theory that Donald Trump was never shot, well, less than a week later, I didn't see no wound on his ear. You people are disgusting. Like, seriously disgusting. That is like the worst. It's just like he wasn't really shot or he faked like he got shot and he fell down. And I've seen people actually saying that he cut himself in the ear like a pro wrestler.
Well, I was also reading lots and lots of stuff about, well, he got hit with a bullet moving this fast. And you obviously do not understand ballistics.
You just want to. And I bet the Earth's flat for you, isn't it?
Well, I mean, you have to.
I'm sorry, Tom. I didn't want to. I'm sorry, it's a sensitive subject.
I know it is.
I will prove to you that it's round.
I'm firmly convinced.
I will prove to you it's round.
Firmly convinced you're wrong. But, the whole ear thing. It's like, have you ever seen the trick where a magician yanks a tablecloth out from under a table setting?
Yes.
Yeah, it's the same idea. That ear is holding still, that bullet's moving real fast.
That's a very good point. Yeah, that's a very good point.
It. And it's the same trick.
I had not thought about it like that. But we all know that the head, and you, I bet fencing. How many times were you fencing and somebody gets nicked in the head?
Oh, you've got plenty of skull protection. So
okay, well that's a bad example. Then. But like I was sword fighting once with my son,
right.
And we were using plastic swords.
Yeah,
and this was Hunter, and I was playing with him and letting him win. I was just being a dad kind of stuff. And that kid caught me right across the forehead, and blood spurted halfway across the room. And when there was this line of blood across the wall, and I played it up. I was like, oh, and so I started looking like I was getting weak, and I collapsed. And poor Hunter is just standing there staring at me, mortified.
How old was this Hunter?
Oh, he was about 10, and he's just looking at me, and I'm like, oh my God. I made him think I passed out. And like there's the point is that the head bleeds,
Yes,
man.
it does.
Oh my God, does it bleed? I mean,
Yes,
you dropped a door on your head, man.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine you still got that dent.
That's not going anywhere.
Man, we should put a Band-Aid on your head right there, man.
That was
with a sign that says Tom was here.
Yeah, that was an almost 350-pound door.
Dude, yeah, that was
significant.
and you still had the wherewithal to take a picture of yourself and send it to us all.
Well, I sent it to my wife first, going, honey, I think I'm going to the ER.
Yeah.
And that wasn't very nice.
Kinetic energy does a whole lot of things that aren't good, folks. One of them is anything at a 90-degree angle or less has a propensity to cut into whatever it lands on.
Yeah.
You will laugh about this. I was painting a one-story house. It was a trailer. It was a single-wide manufactured home, and the lots were tiny. Okay. So I had to put the ladder up because she had a metal roof and she wanted it all sealed up for winter. So we actually, there's a special kind of paint. It's a rubberized paint that you can get to put on a roof.
Yeah,
a
I've done
metal
that.
roof. Yeah.
Yep.
And so we sealed that all up for her, and I had my ladder up the roof. Well, this mobile home park was right on the water, and every once in a while I get some good gusts and breezes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure enough, the gust didn't come up while I was up on the roof. I looked over just in time to see that ladder, and it come right down on my car.
Ow.
My aluminum freaking ladder, and it missed my windshield by a half an inch.
Okay.
And it's an aluminum ladder, super light, right?
Yeah. But you caught the edge of it, didn't you?
It still caught the edge, and so the steel frame or the steel exoskeleton of my Mustang still had a dent put in it.
Yeah.
And I mean, that stuff is you can't. It's why when people talk about wrestling being fake, I'm like, you can't fake gravity.
Nope.
I mean, they're scripted,
right.
But you can't fake, that dude's got a baseball bat with barbed wire on it. Oh, yeah, that's fake after he got hit in the back and now he's bleeding in 74 places.
Right.
You just want to be like, these people beat the snot out of themselves for your entertainment. The least you could do is respect them enough to not be joking about how fake it is when it, you're going to jump from 3 stories up. I'm not. I'll shite myself, man. No way.
That's a long drop.
It is a long drop.
Yeah, I'm not interested in a career in professional wrestling. I'm too old for that.
Yeah. Well, if Kevin was still doing it, we had when he was working with the folks. I think Dennis was doing this too with them down there, and they had a professional wrestling show that went on in downtown Bremerton. And remember that, Dennis?
Yep.
Yeah. And so Kevin, being the big wrestling fan that he is. We had interviewed the folks from there and stuff like that. And so Kevin was like, we need to pick a fight between the two of us and let's get into the ring. I'm like, let's do it. Let's do it, man. I'm already physically active, man. I'm doing all this stuff, right? And you can't make this up, man. 2 weeks into the training, I'm like ready to go.
Right.
I'm like, let's do this. This is going to be badass, Kevin.
Yeah,
I'm going to beat your ass like a redheaded stepchild, right?
Right.
I hurt my ankle. My ankle, I twisted it, and I can't really. We can't do it. We got to call it off, guys. I'm sorry.
It is for that very reason that I am still completely content. I don't care how I finish in the DW race. The Lord says I must simply prevent Kevin from winning. That's it. People have no idea what it means to me and how deeply I am driven to destroy his ego by not allowing him to use it. Anything. That dude has more ego than a hyena after stealing a lion's kill, I mean, that dude.
Oh, Kevin's not here to defend himself. Protect himself. No, defend himself.
Defend himself?
Yeah.
Okay, Tom, well, if it makes you feel more comfortable, I won't pick on Kevin because he's not here to defend himself. Fine. It's all right. Anyway,
where'd you want to go next?
Well, you had a very good topic that you put in the chat room, and I would like to touch on that one.
Or the Alexa one?
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's one that we should actually just play.
Well, we can certainly play it. Yes.
Short little.
We can play it and then
clip
discuss it because I think it is super relevant. So why don't you set the story up for everybody and tell them about it before you play it?
But
Okay,
we're
do you
actually
want
coming up to the top of the hour.
Oh, all right. Well, we'll play it after the top of the hour break.
We have 2 minutes if you want to lead into
Yeah,
it.
I'll-
Though, say
so-
that.
Okay, well,
I'll
let me
babble about it.
Go
ahead.
We'll get into it then after the break.
Okay.
Okay, so that way you can find the clip and have it ready
Sure,
to
sure.
go.
Do you have something you want to dig
well,
into right now?
No, there's an interesting comment by Sean in the chat room.
Okay.
Sean says, no civilization expends those kinds of resources for benevolent purposes. Most UFOs are probably advanced U.S. technology. The Phoenix lights bear a striking resemblance to an early drone swarm. Listen, I think he's 100% correct about the United States technology being mistaken for some UFO stuff. And the reason I say that is because it's very clear through, and again, this is coming from somebody in me that very is deep into this subject with a lot of good connections within the military, Department of Defense, and other agencies to talk about this specific thing. But not all of them. And, you know, Hunter told me an interesting story about what had happened to them in Iraq. And it was right after they had changed radar systems.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, they were getting these blips on their brand new radar systems. And nobody could figure out what they were. So they thought it was a problem with the system. They brought the guys in that created the systems. They pulled them out and put brand new ones in.
Mhm.
And I'm going to talk about the rest of this when we're at break because this is a fascinating story and it's not classified. So this is really good. But Sean, I will say this, man, and I'm telling you from my personal experience, you can go on my YouTube page and see the video I took. This stuff's real, man. It is real. It's as real as a heart attack. We'll get going on this, man. I get my blood going. Outlaw Radio Network. We want to thank you all for being with us tonight and spending your time and your evening with us. Kevin really appreciates it because, well, you all paid for him to be able to go to the Journey concert and see them open for a real band in Def Leppard.
Oh, they did? Oh, man. I
Tom's
wanted
like-
tickets,
Tom's
too.
like, what the hell, man?
Live on Facebook.
Facebook.
We should have some fun and change that word. We're not live on Facebook. We're Memorex.
Memorex?
Oh.
Yeah.
You remember that?
I do.
Is it live or is it Memorex?
I do remember that.
Oh my
Now,
yes.
the last concert I went to when the opening band came on, I felt like the guy from the old Memorex commercials. The guy sitting in the chair with his hair blowing back behind him.
Oh, okay. Okay. Like, hey, here's a good one for you, Tom. I wonder if you remember this one. You see this battery on my shoulder? Knock it off. I dare you. Right? Do you remember that?
I remember.
What was that? Oh, man.
Yeah. It's Duracell battery commercials. And the actor
Yeah.
was Robert Conrad, who played the pilot in Baba Black
Oh,
Sheep.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Played Pappy Bullington.
Pappy Boynton, yeah.
I was a little fella.
A man
for
who
that
spent time here in Washington State, went to the University of Washington, and actually spent time right here in Port Orchard. It's
I hadn't heard that. I knew it was.
It's a cool story.
Oh, I knew he was a dog. I didn't know he'd spent time here.
I did. By the way, I saw a really good movie. Speaking of dogs, it's called The Boys in the Boat, and it is the true story of the University of Washington men's crew team, and basically the junior varsity team. The JV team went out, beat the varsity team, and ended up doing so well in their season, they made the U.S. Olympic team and went to Germany to compete in the Olympics with Jesse Owens right before World War II.
Oh, that's cool.
It's a great story.
Okay.
I really enjoyed it. It was listen, it's one of those movies that you have to appreciate a story for what it is, for the story and the truth behind the story. Like there's the only kind of action that's in it is what row, right? I mean that's
right.
That's the extent of the action, but it's still it's a fascinating story. It was a lot of fun to watch, and it's probably Oscar worthy kind of stuff, man. It's really good.
Then, do you know what platform that's on?
I believe.
Have you seen it recently? I guess.
So I freely admit there's a certain website that I go to.
Oh, okay.
And so I watched a lot, and you know it. I'm not even going to get into it. Not going to get into it. Here's the thing.
Is it The Boys in the Boat?
The Boys in the Boat.
Okay,
Yeah.
so if I do a search on my just Roku
Yes,
platform,
I think it's
it'll
on.
come up
yes,
with one of my streaming services.
I think that it's on Amazon. streaming platform. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
So.
And it's fun you bring Amazon up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, because we're going to talk about Amazon when we get to the
.com.
to the
Yeah.
to the AM side.
Holly, what happened to Tom's face? Well, Tom dropped a door on his head.
No, that's not what she's talking about.
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, what?
Have you not noticed I'm
Noticed what?
clean shaven?
You're what?
I'm clean shaven.
No, you got stubble.
Oh, well, I don't have a...
Yeah, but he doesn't have that thing hanging from his chin that he would sit there and pat often as he thought.
You know, to be honest with you, though, I really dug that. I love the fact that you took the time to... and this coming from a guy who loves to do all kinds of different shaving my facial hair different ways. So I truly appreciated that, and it makes me jealous because I would have loved to have been able to grow my goatee or my beard out that long. I can't do it because once my facial hair gets to a certain point, it itches so bad. I get pissed. It happens every time I try to grow it out.
See,
it pisses me off. It annoys me so bad. I just cut it all off.
So that I want to do the handlebar mustache
Yes.
so bad,
Yes.
but I can't get past. It drives my lip nuts.
Yeah.
No,
I don't,
the rest of it, no
probably
big
should
deal.
Never say that again.
Yeah. No, but
Yeah. No, it's I actually adopt for years, man. I would shave my goatee to look like 16th, 17th century, you know.
Yeah, I can't grow it long enough to do that. It drives me nuts.
Yeah, with the mustache and the little landing strip.
Yeah.
You know, and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, and you got to do it in a way like because there's a certain time frame when that hair is so short that you know your partner ain't gonna like it that much.
Nope.
So you just you have to get through that period really quick. Hopefully you time it with the right week and you're okay. Oh, Dennis. Okay, so what that means, Dennis? No.
Shush. I've been nice so far.
Yeah, you've been nice. And where's my queen? You promised you were gonna play queen
Hey,
tonight.
I'll get some. All right, coming back in.
I knew he wouldn't keep
10
his
seconds.
word.
Oh, I would too.
I knew it, Tom. I knew it.
Oh, good Lord.
I bet he will. Give him a...
Men build things, then we die. It's in our DNA. That's what we do.
And when it all falls down,
We build it right back up again, but this time bigger, better. Look what we can do. Look how beautiful we are. You think the men that built all this had it easy?
hard men.
Doing hard? That gives me a hard on. But not in a gay way or anything.
No, of course not. Yeah, it goes without saying.
I am so sick of this self-help, 12-step, leftover, hippie generation.
Now they don't want you to do anything, right? Just sit there. Don't drink, don't smoke, don't drive fast.
Kiss my... Do it all, I say. You think Duke Wayne spent all his time talking about his feelings with a therapist?
There's no good way he did.
John Wayne died with 5 pounds of undigested red meat in his ass. Now that's a man. Real men hide their feelings. Why?
Because it's none of your business.
Men do not cry. Men do not pout. Men kiss you in the jaw and say...
This is the Outlaw Radio Network.
I've never stole a movie in my life, for the record. I stream stuff. I never stole nothing. Anyway, so the story was so incredibly fascinating, and my son made sure before he told me the story that there was nothing classified about it, right? So the whole story goes like this: these guys are at a base, a forward operating base in Iraq, and they changed out the radar system, and they started getting these glitches in the system. They didn't know what they were. And the guys that designed the systems thought it was something wrong with them, so they brought it in, switched it out. Then they kept getting the same glitch, only this time what they thought was a glitch was slowing down and changing directions, almost as if it could tell that it was now visible. And over the course of a couple of days, they kept catching this and seeing this thing over and over and over again. And then about 2 o'clock in the morning one night, the alarm sounds. And the guys are all getting up, right? You know, because it's the middle of the night, you're in a combat zone.
Right.
The alarm's going off, and they come outside, and all the guys are looking up, and nobody can see anything. It's pitch black.
Okay.
On a clear night.
Okay.
Right above them.
What?
It was pitch black, right above them, on a clear night.
Really?
no stars, couldn't see anything.
Huh.
They estimated it was 200 to 300 yards wide, and it just sat there and hovered over the base for about 5 minutes. It was and it was like, it was the most eerie feeling of like WTF, but calm at the same time. And one of the guys, the chief warrant officer that was in charge that night, had made the comment that it was kind of one of those, you're so in awe, but you knew that if there was ill intent, like they wouldn't have had time to realize there was ill intent, kind of thing.
Right.
Like this thing is so, they're so advanced and so powerful. We're ants, kind of was the feeling, like we're nothing to them. But yet it stopped and hovered right over the base. In fact, it happened in the same area. If you haven't seen it, go look it up on YouTube. Go look for the video. The jellyfish UFO. That is an incredible video. If you guys haven't seen that, go type in the jellyfish UFO. It is almost unbelievable because it looks exactly like a jellyfish floating through the air. And not only, but it's opaque. And it gets so they have weapons platforms, right? Like drones that constantly hover over these bases and stuff, and they're constantly watching everything. So the drone picked this thing up, and the drone had it, and it had a lock on it, right?
Right.
But you see this thing fly slowly over the base. It goes right over the top of people. Nobody notices it. It goes right over the top of dogs. The dogs don't notice it. It was such an amazing video. Again, if you haven't seen it, go look it up. It's called the jellyfish UFO. It's good stuff. Good stuff.
Huh.
Anyway, let's go ahead and get now to your Alexa story.
That Alexa story. So, we were talking about mainstream media.
Yes.
And the spin that mainstream media kind of takes for
spin.
Yeah, for electoral purposes.
Yes.
And we were talking about how it's not just mainstream media that has their I guess influences.
Uh-huh.
And so this is something from an Amazon Dot, an Amazon Echo, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
That I'm just gonna let it go. Let me make sure it's in the right spot here. So this is a video clip from Benny Johnson on X.
Yeah, he does a good job posting stuff. He's fascinating to follow. Again, the name is Benny Johnson. And this is a compilation of multiple people recording the same thing. So that's what you're going to hear. You're going to hear people talking to their Alexa, but they're all asking the same question.
The same questions. I haven't tried this on mine at home yet.
And I haven't either, but I'm definitely going to.
Yeah.
Tonight when I get home, because I'm very curious.
Yeah, so am I. So here it is. Let me make sure I'm in the right spot.
Should I vote for Donald Trump?
I cannot provide content that promotes a specific political party or a specific candidate.
Alexa, why should I vote for Kamala Harris?
Voting for Kamala Harris means supporting a candidate who advocates for the needs of the people and has a track record of fighting for social justice. As the Vice President of the United States, Harris has advocated for policies such as raising the minimum wage, addressing income inequality, and expanding access to health care.
There you have it.
Alexa, why should I vote for Donald Trump?
I cannot provide content that promotes a specific political party or a specific candidate.
Alexa, why should I vote for Donald Trump?
I cannot promote content that supports a specific political party or a specific candidate. In order to make an informed decision, it is best to consider information from a variety of sources and to weigh the arguments for and against each candidate.
Alexa, why should I vote for Kamala Harris?
Why vote for Kamala Harris? Harris is a promising candidate with a strong track record and a commitment to progressive values. As a senator, she has demonstrated leadership on issues such as healthcare, immigration, and climate change. She is also a strong advocate for women, minorities, and working families. Harris is a charismatic leader who has the potential to bring change to the country. Vote for Harris if you want a candidate who is committed to progress, diversity, and social justice.
Why should I vote for Donald Trump?
Stop it.
It's okay. So we get the point.
So, I wanted to stop it there, but
hit the off button, Tom.
Yeah, I was hitting the volume button.
It poses an interesting, and it gets back to what I talked to earlier, right? It in that You don't have to necessarily consider that media. I don't know what category you would put Alexa AI in, but it's certainly been programmed to provide certain types of answers to certain types of questions.
Right. Yeah, my problem with that is, because I'm not going to vote Harris and I'm not going to vote Trump. I mean, we already know how I'm voting.
Well, but nobody asked it about
right.
the Libertarian candidate.
Well, I'm sure if you were to ask it about any candidate other than Harris or Trump, well, if you were to ask it anything other than Harris, it's going to give you the same answer for Trump or Oliver or Stein or, pick all your third party, Yang. I think Yang's running for the Forward Party. I'm not sure.
Andrew, you're talking about Andrew Yang,
right?
Who I actually brilliant guy.
Yeah,
I really, and the thing that gets me, and this is to your problem, the problem with the two-party system, is we have some brilliant people out there with some great ideas.
Yep.
Andrew Yang, Vivek Ramaswamy,
yep.
And others. Oh my gosh, I feel horrible for forgetting her name, but Kennedy's running mate.
Oh, Shanahan.
Shanahan, yeah. Brilliant woman.
Yeah.
Just brilliant. Showed good leadership skills, gave a great speech. These are people that are younger and that have new, fresh ideas. And I don't, there's no new, fresh idea that I'm not interested in hearing. The ideas that I'm not interested in hearing are the ideas that involve socialism or communism. When you're saying I'm going to use these techniques in order to make our country better, that's a hard no.
Right.
When you're telling me I'm going to run for president, my name's Kamala Harris, vote for me, I'm going to take away people's what they call patents and I have the will to do it. Yeah, that's a big red flag for me. And you're talking about somebody who had no problem keeping people in jail past the time they were supposed to be released so that they could be used for hard labor.
I have
whatever kind of labor it was.
Right, well, any sort of labor, period.
Yeah.
I have a big issue with that.
As you should.
Yeah.
Like this is a person who did this, and yet nobody in the media is asking her about it. She did it. She never even answered the question after she got cornered about it by Tulsi Gabbard.
It will come up in the debate.
I hope so.
It will. It will.
I hope so.
It is.
It's a legitimate attack point for Trump.
Well, it's a legitimate question for anyone should they choose to take the time to ask it and have her in a position where she has to answer.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and which brings us to another interesting kind of topic, and that's the support that has come out of nowhere for Donald Trump. From all people, Tim Walz's family.
Yeah, so I saw that I don't remember what I was scrolling through. I saw that because I put it in our chat going, hey, I can't find anything to vet this. Has anyone seen, and you had posted a Newsweek article that I dug through.
Yeah, because it was vetted and it was a legitimate story.
Yeah.
And so there was a photograph that was taken of Tim Walz's family, and all of the family members had a T-shirt on that said "Walz for Trump."
Yeah.
And I was like, it's got to be a gag or something, right? So you do a few more. I mean, it doesn't take but 30 seconds worth of vetting, and you're like, oh my God, it's real. This is his family, and they took the picture because they're all supporting Donald Trump.
Yeah, no, I didn't have any luck digging down that rabbit hole. It was weird.
Yeah, well, I've been vetting stuff a long time, right? There's just certain keywords and ways to go about it, I guess. It's just, so there. I don't know how it felt for him, but it could not have felt good. But honestly, this is something that we see all the time in politics, right? Sure. Donald Trump's cousin hates his guts and speaks out about how bad of a human being he is every chance she gets.
Mary Trump.
Yep.
Yeah.
Kennedy's family hates him because of his stance on vaccines, which is not anti-vaccine, it's safe vaccine. Those people, they're looking to get their name in the paper. They're looking for their 15 minutes of fame. So whatever, take it and run with it. I don't really think it means anything. I know if I was Kennedy, I probably wouldn't have a good time at family dinners at Thanksgiving, because there's plenty of BS that's been spoke by his family about him.
They probably don't have dinner together on
I would hope
Thanksgiving.
not, 'cause
That'd be my guess.
It would be awkward.
Yeah,
dude,
it'd
yeah.
be strange.
Because they do not like him, it seems. And yeah. Anyway, and the dude has accomplished so much.
Yeah.
In his life, to be such an anathema to your family because. Literally, it's because he's not towing the Democrat line. You know,
he's a little bit of a weird one though.
Do you? Why do you call him weird?
Well, wrangling rattlesnakes out of his driveway. I thought that was a little strange.
Sounds kind of fun. Don't get bit.
I've done my fair.
Like
share.
if you live there and a rattlesnake's in your yard, you may just have to do that.
I've done it many times.
Okay,
but I
see?
wasn't trying to save the rattlesnake. I was going to eat it. So there's a big difference between trying to catch the rattlesnake to
so he's
relocate
weird
it.
because he tried to save the rattlesnake. You're okay because you wanted to eat it.
Well, I was hungry.
Yeah.
I was in the desert and I was hungry. That's one, right? But trying to catch one of those things, and not harm it, so you can put it in your neighbor's yard because it was in your yard, that's just a ridiculous idea. That's a great way to get bit.
Well, but we take risks in life. Every time we drive, there could be a drunk driver on the road somewhere.
Well, that's
with us.
true.
So, I mean, we take risks in life, Tom. We do. So, okay, I'm gonna go there for another second.
I just thought it was
this
a little weird.
This is interesting. So,
Okay.
what else about him is weird?
Oh, that's the thing that really stands out.
That's one that stands out. So, not the bear, not the dead bear.
Well, okay,
That didn't stand out.
Well, I mean, I kind of forgotten about the dead bear until you just mentioned it. It was like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
he did that too. That was also kind of odd.
Yeah, listen. We all have that side to us, right?
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, it's a little weird, practical jokey. I get it. I mean, I love a good practical joke. But,
yes. So. Okay. So. Next story. Are you ready for this one?
Go.
This one cracks me up.
Okay.
So we watched Kennedy, and this is kind of where I was going with the transition.
Okay.
We watched Kennedy come out and endorse Donald Trump.
Right.
Okay. Now, for those that aren't aware, Kennedy had been sued by the Democrats many, many times in order to keep him off of ballots, certain ballots across the country.
Right.
Where they felt that if he was on the ballot, he could be a spoiler. So Kennedy came out and said, I'm going to endorse Donald Trump. Go ahead and remove my names from the ballot.
Okay.
And
which ballot? Because that's a state by state thing.
It is.
Yeah.
Yep. But here's the funny part. These states didn't have any problem changing out the name Biden for the name Harris.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah. Piece of cake.
But now he's having to sue the same states that he got sued to keep him off of the ballot because those states that are run and controlled by Democrats are trying to keep him on the ballot. Why? Because they believe he'll be a spoiler for Donald Trump. That's how freaking stupid this stuff has gotten. He wants to get on the ballot. He does everything he needs to do to get on the ballot. The Democrats sue him to keep him off the ballot. Then when he says, okay, fine, I won't go on the ballot. Well, no. You already sued us to get on. We're not taking you off. Well, you took the other guy off.
I love politics.
Isn't this something, man?
I love politics in this country.
Now,
this is
listen,
ridiculous.
I make it sound like it's simple, and obviously it's more convoluted than that. But honestly, to the average American, to guys like us, Tom, is it any more complicated
it's
than
thoroughly
that?
ridiculous.
Right. I'm like, how hard is it when you take a computer to generate a ballot? You can't tell me. Now, if the ballots have been printed, that's one thing.
Right.
That's a totally different story. But if it's a matter of removing one name with a little digital
just
flashing
backspace.
light, yeah. Just stupid. Totally stupid. And how are the Democrats walking around telling everybody Donald Trump is a threat to democracy?
Right.
How do they do that with a straight face when they are literally suing another candidate to keep him off the ballots?
Or on the ballot.
And now suing him to keep him on the ballot. Using super delegates and the old switcheroony to put a candidate on the ballot that got no votes. Their candidate got 0 votes in this presidential thing, whatever you want to call it now.
What are you talking about? The primary?
Yeah, I mean, look,
Yeah.
we're not.
Or-
they
or,
didn't
I
even
mean,
have
we're-
a primary,
Right. I mean, well, there wasn't a primary for Kennedy.
because he was running as an independent.
Right.
And the primary is a party issue.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is you hear the Democrats talk about how they are the party of democracy.
Right.
And
for the people.
and Donald Trump is a threat to democracy.
Right.
Now, that word pisses me off all on its own because one of the major ways that change is incorporated at a real basic level is by changing words, changing vocabulary, changing meanings.
Right.
And we've seen Democrats slowly do that over the last 60, 70 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's in the communist playbook, right? Now, people might be like, Paul, what are you talking about? What are you talking about?
Well,
let's look at the word. Democracy.
It's also in just human nature. I mean, linguistics has an evolution to it.
Holy cow. Yes,
Yeah.
it does.
Yeah.
And so we are what? What kind of country are we? What system
we're a
of government do we have?
representational republic.
We're a representative republic.
Yeah.
And there's a big difference between a representative republic and a democracy.
Right. But it has a democratic function.
So a democracy in a general idea is a form where the people select its leadership.
Right.
Through a fair and meaningful process. That's
Yes.
democracy.
Yes.
But our form of government here is as a representative republic because we elect representatives whose job it is to best represent their constituents who put them in that position.
Correct.
And then those people get
Will select
together
our leader.
and decide the rules, and then they select their own leaders within that group, et cetera, right?
So
the key about a democracy that I think a lot of people lose is that democracy is 50% plus one.
Right.
Democracy does not protect the minority.
It does not.
And a representative republic is specifically designed in order to do just that because the founding fathers were brilliant about that.
Yeah. I mean, it's not without its problems, right?
Of course.
Yeah. But
And I don't know that there'll ever be a perfect form of government, to be honest with you. I mean,
that's not possible.
I can't. I believe you. Yes, I'm right there with you. I
Yeah.
don't think it's possible.
No. I mean, it is contrary to human nature.
Because the more free we are, the more we're going to have people take advantage of it. We see that all the time, right? We try to be a free country, and how many people take advantage of those freedoms right now?
I think it
I can think of
depends on how
21 million that came across the border.
Right. I was going to say, I think it depends on how you mean.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if we're talking immigration, then yeah, there's.
Was it Jefferson who said, "We've given you a republic if you can keep it"?
Was that Jefferson or was that Franklin?
I don't know. I don't remember. That's why I asked.
I think it was Franklin.
And the older you get and the more educated you get on these issues of government, right, the more believable that statement is, right? Like if we fail with this republic, it's going to be because we collapsed from within. I firmly believe that.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, the open border, the border policy. If we put together a good form of governance for we the people, and it leads to a good quality of life, people are going to be attracted to that.
Yeah.
And it's up to us to protect our borders and allow in people that will contribute to that good way of life, not try to be a parasite to it. So and because I think we should have, good, not open borders in the sense of 21 million people running across the border unchecked.
Right.
But we need to allow people into this country because it's good for everyone involved. We just have to let the right people in this country.
Yeah. No, I agree. And listen, Nancy Pelosi made a comment when she was on Bill Maher's show.
And Corey backed me up. He was I was right. It was Ben Franklin.
Okay, Ben Franklin. Very good. Good to know.
Thank you, Corey.
Yeah. She made the comment about how so for those that aren't aware, the state of California is setting up a program for illegal immigrants to be able to buy homes for $0 down without having to qualify. Now, that is incredibly offensive to me.
Yeah, not on the taxpayer dime. I have a problem with that.
Yeah, well, that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
But it's one of the, first of all, a house in California, $25,000 is really going to give you that much. And that's Kamala Harris's proposal.
Right.
And the way she has said it is a little sketchy. She's like, we're going to give a $25,000 tax credit to eligible first-time home buyers. So I'm still, and Kevin had a hard time with this trying to explain it to me because, well, I'm a tax credit. Isn't that something you get after you file your taxes or you get to apply it, right? But you still got to have the cash down, and you still got to be able to show where that money came from because the banks don't want to lend to somebody who don't have the money for their down payment.
Right.
So, I mean, it just all of this stuff to me sounds like empty promises in order to capture a vote, which gets to the illegal immigration issue. It has not been kept a secret for long that Democrats have been very open about wanting open borders. And they've been very open about wanting those said illegal immigrants to have the ability at some point to vote.
Yeah, after they're naturalized.
Oh, really?
That's my take.
Okay, that's your take.
That's
okay.
my take.
I got you. Well, we'll throw something into this after we get back.
Go through the process.
Yeah, go through the process. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Find a way to make them legal, baby.
Yep.
Make them legal. Make them pay. Make them stay. Take it all, like you take it from me and Tom. Or Tom. Tom really gives it all.
Not
You know, huh? I love you too, Tom. Jesus, Tom. Drink before the show.
Live on the internet.
You know, there's lots of things we could do live on the internet, Dennis. You leave a lot open to interpretation there, my
friend. This is a family show.
It is. It is. But it may not be after I read this next story when we come back from break.
Uh-oh.
Well, it's about the illegal immigrants and our wonderful Vice President Kamala Harris.
Well, that can keep it as a family show.
Well, yes.
I mean, unless the family gets to arguing over the topic.
Do you find it offensive when people have the conversation about Kamala Harris and whether or not she got favors from Willie Brown and stuff like that because she was sleeping with him? Does that conversation bother you or piss you off or anything? Because it did me at first. It did me, and I was like, dude, it's not a good conversation to have. I don't like the optics of it, right? Because attacking a woman that way, I just think is really poor. But I've changed my mind on it, and I'll tell you why.
Okay. So when it comes to that kind of stuff, you know, I don't care if it's, you know, talk about Harris or if it's talk about Trump or Kennedy or you know, pick your political figure.
Pick your political poison.
Yeah, I think most of it is presented in the absolute worst possible light because it's meant to just, you know, smear and sling mud and you know it's mudslinging American politics
for sure.
And I tend to just ignore it because it really honestly I think most of it is so that the mainstream media can sell advertising.
It's just salacious for the sake of making a buck. Yeah, I'm there with you. What changed my mind was, and I don't even remember who I heard say it when they made the comment that like people got to stop bitching about Republicans and conservatives that talk about Kamala Harris sucking a dick to get a job. Because and he brought up the point, I think it might have been Judge Joe Brown, I don't remember, but he makes the point, he's like, y'all been talking about Donald Trump fucking a stripper for the last 2 years.
Right.
So, you know, it what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Yeah, and I mean the Stormy Daniels thing, don't care. The
Yep.
Willie Brown thing, don't care.
Yeah. No, listen, none of it really matters because none of it's issue related, right?
Right.
And
that was like, you know, Clinton Lewinsky, don't care.
Didn't care about that either. Yeah. Well, I don't know why it's so hard for people to grasp. All we really give a damn about are the issues. Like, I saw this post on social media yesterday. It says, I don't know how people can ignore the fact he has 34 felonies.
Mama, life had just begun, but now I've gone and thrown it all away. Mama, didn't mean to make you cry. If I'm not back again this time tomorrow,
This is the Outlaw Radio Network.
KITZ AM radio. All your favorite hits of the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and I'm out of breath.
Nice try.
Some of the stuff you find, man, just blows me away. Where do you find this stuff? Do you just go onto YouTube and do some really wild searches?
Yeah.
Okay. You never cease to impress when you find this completely abstract stuff.
Paul, you should be this dude's roommate. You should be this guy's roommate and have
Tom.
We have what?
Tom, I'm married.
What?
Okay?
So am I.
Whatever he does in
So
his
am I.
spare, that's up to him, man.
So
Look,
I'm married.
Okay, whatever you guys do is fine. It's up to you.
Man, our evenings.
Now, I wouldn't have a problem renting him a room or renting a room from him, but telling me I should be his roommate.
Oh, I get where he's going.
Knock it off.
I'm very direct, man. Very direct.
What do you call it? What do you call it? I mean, he has his own bedroom in the house that I live in.
But you don't go in there.
My own private space.
No, actually, we really
you do go in there.
No, we really all respect each other's space a lot.
Oh, I
mean,
believe you.
We don't have a ton of room, but everyone is very protective of.
Yeah.
His point is, I go down some
He goes down-
odd musical.
He
places.
goes down and there's holes and all.
Here we
Yes,
here we
that's
go.
right.
Yeah.
Rabbit holes.
Oh my God. Okay. Let's get back to what we were talking about. So we were talking about illegal immigrants coming across the border. I firmly believe, I think we've established this pretty well, that we believe that the plan for the Democrats is to offer as much as they can get for free, tell people whatever they think they want to hear in order to get the vote. And then this is an interesting thing that broke today. The Biden-Harris administration has negotiated bus passage through Mexico for migrants using California Border Patrol One, an asylum app. They actually have created an app. The latest development between the Biden-Harris administration and the government of Mexico on the immigration front will see migrants provided busing from 2 southern Mexico cities to the United States border. The plan will provide the migrants headed to the United States with meals and security during travel from the 2 cities to the United States destination, where the migrants' asylum appointments are scheduled under the CBP-1 application.
Well, it won't be along the Texas border.
I don't know where it's at. Let's see.
Yeah, no. You said it was a California One.
Yes, but it's CBP-1 is the name of the app.
Right. So one's going to assume it's the California-Mexico border.
I don't know. I would assume it's for the entire border.
Yeah. Why?
Maybe it's centered in California. So you're right. Maybe that's just where the centers are. I don't know. We'll see.
So, to this conversation, I have a good buddy of mine that travels for work. He travels all over the place. And he was down in Texas for a job, and his jobs, when he gets to a destination, his job only takes him maybe an hour and a half to do. And then the rest of the time that he's in his destination, he sightsees. Right? Because, I mean, his next
what does
flight,
he do for a living, and how can I get on with that company?
he works for a company called Peak Scientific. He's an engineer. He's an engineer.
He takes that medication called A-Brain.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
he's a
got you.
pretty smart dude. He's he's got a couple of engineering.
Wait, is that your
degrees.
friend that I met that drives the Tesla?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Different friend.
Different friend.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. But he's a scientist.
So yeah. So anyways, he works for this company doing engineering stuff in all these different labs.
Mm-hmm.
He's part of the lab equipment maintenance team, if you will. And so he goes down, and he was in Texas. I don't remember what city he was in, but he wasn't far from Eagle Pass. You remember Eagle Pass?
Yep.
Yeah. So he thought, heck, I'm 2 hours away. My flight isn't for his flight was like 9 hours. He had time to kill, so he drove to Eagle Pass. And unfortunately, the cell reception was kind of crap. So he was trying to video for me, and we were just doing a video call, and he was trying to show me what was going on at Eagle Pass.
Uh-huh.
Nothing. It was a ghost town.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So who's lying to? Do you think it was just a downtime?
No,
or have they been lying to us about all these people coming?
I don't
across
think
the
they're
border?
lying to us. I think enough time has passed. Abbott has got the Texas border under control.
Well, that's true. Yeah, and he's being sued by the federal government for it too.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think he's got the border between Texas and Mexico under control, which is why I'm saying the California-Mexico border is going to become a choke point.
Okay, I'm feeling you. Well, and because there's some interesting stuff along the border that people don't realize. For example, down in Arizona, right? You've got, I think it was 200 miles of border. No, maybe it's 20 miles of border is within one of the Native American designated
nations,
areas. One of the and I think it's the Apache Nation, and so the tribe does its own
border
monitoring
patrol.
of the border.
Yeah.
Fascinating stuff. So we finished going on to this. This is the government of Mexico's National Institute of Migration announced the new program in a Spanish language notice issued on Saturday, referring to the initiative as the Secure Emerging Mobility Corridor. The 2 departure cities in southern Mexico will be Villahermosa, Tabasco, and Tapachula and Chiapas. The new transportation program will allow authorities in Mexico to manage better the flow of migrants traveling into the country's interior by scheduling free travel services as appointments to be released into the United States are scheduled. So basically, they go onto the app, they schedule an appointment in the United States so they can get on this bus for free, travel there, go into their appointment, and at that point in time, they get released into the United States on their own cognition. That's what it sounds like. Sound different to you?
No. So
the country's interior, by scheduling free travel services as appointments to be released into the United States, are scheduled under the California Border Patrol 1 program. Currently, 1,450 migrants are released into the United States daily under this CBP-1 asylum application. The migrants are not required to pass a credible fear interview. Note the credible fear interviews, because international law states that you can only ask for asylum in the country directly bordering yours.
Okay.
Which means Mexico. People
right.
in Mexico could ask us for asylum.
But not Guatemala.
Right. Well, first of all, they're ignoring that. And they're letting anybody come in and claim asylum. And then to top it off, you are supposed to have a credible fear of life, right? And they don't have to pass that exam, because that's what they would ask them questions about. Hey, is your life under threat? Is your politics going south? Is your country turning upside? Like what's
Venezuela?
going on? Yeah. So
which doesn't border us,
and they're not having to do that either. So the migrants are not required to pass a credible fear interview, which is usually the first hurdle to a successful asylum claim. The program's announcement comes a week after authorities with Mexico's INM and the Biden-Harris administration's representatives met in Mexico to expand the geographic region in Mexico where migrants can request CBP-1 asylum appointments. The program had restricted access to schedule appointments in central and northern Mexico until last week. Allowing the appointment in southern Mexico will now allow both governments to regulate the flow of migrant travel through Mexico. The world that I'm from, we call this collusion. It sounds to me like President Biden, Vice President Harris are working directly with the president of Mexico to help people come here illegally. That's what it sounds like. Tell me what your thought is.
Well, I don't have a thought yet because I have too many questions.
Okay.
So one, who's paying for the transportation through Mexico?
United States taxpayers.
We're funding this.
I would almost guarantee it.
Right. So that's my first question. Is it the United States government or is it the Mexican government? That's one. Two, the people moving from Mexico to the border, so they're moving north. Do they have documents of any sort? Are they Mexican citizens with a passport?
Yeah, that's not said here.
Right.
But what I will tell you,
or are they Guatemalan citizens or whatever with a passport?
So here's what happens 90% of the time. And if you go down to the border, and if your friend had gone to walk along the river, he would have seen this. They dump their identification and passports before they are taken into custody. And you will find thousands upon thousands upon thousands of identification papers from all over the world, all along the border. Now, the reason I understand that they do that is so that if there's any questions about why they're coming here, nothing can be leaked back to them because they can give whatever name they want.
Right.
I'm from Nigeria. I don't have any documentation. So okay, what's your name? My name's Bob Smith.
Sure
they
it
give
is.
whatever name
Right.
they want.
Right.
Nothing can be tracked back to
Right.
them. Because a lot of these other countries don't have the database that we have here.
Right.
So
yeah, I mean, so those are all my questions.
Yeah.
I mean, because
well, they're good questions. Now,
right.
Now, put yourself out there, man. Give us your thoughts.
Well, my thoughts are they're coming from southern Mexico on and further points, whatever. I mean, people are making their way to Tabasco or I don't remember the rest of the cities. But if they're making their way there, and then the American people are paying for them to go from there to a sanctuary city somewhere, again, if it's a stepping stone through a vetted process, I don't particularly have a problem with it.
Okay.
But I want to know more about the vetting, and I want to know why are we paying for it? Because I'm not okay with the American taxpayer picking up the tab. We have too many problems here at home we need to fix first. I think that's the big thing is there's no good reason for us to bus everyone in. We're not short people. We have
You're right. Jeremy's not here.
No, we're not short of people. No, I wasn't talking about Trojo. We'll pick on Trojo on Sunday. It's not like we have labor shortages, like Japan or Germany, right, where their population is aging very quickly. We're not dealing with that, so we're not relying on immigration for social concerns. So, there's no reason for us to spend American tax dollars on that.
How do you, switching gears here a little bit?
Sure.
How do you feel as a libertarian? This is me kind of going off the rails here a little bit, but I'm really curious about your thought process. And maybe Dennis would like to pipe in on this one too. How do you feel about President Biden's continued attempts to pay off student loans?
I think somewhere along the way he's just trying to buy votes for the DNC.
That is a very, very thoughtful answer on your part. And I say that because a lot of times you tend to you try to stay as close to the middle as you can on a lot of stuff like that. But I think on this one, I think you're really speaking from your gut, right?
I always do. I mean, there are times...
Because you went to college.
Yeah.
And are you still paying on student loans?
No, I paid mine off.
Okay. Did you have to make sacrifices to pay yours off? What did it take for you?
A lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I worked 60, 70-hour weeks. I kept my living expenses as Spartan as possible. I think Spartan is the way.
How many years did it take you to pay those off?
I paid them off pretty quick. 9.
Okay, that's right about the same amount of time as now. How if you don't mind me asking,
9-ish.
how far did your student debt go? About how far in debt were you on your student loans?
Mine weren't bad. So I did my first 2 years of college. I went to OC and I got my associate's degree, and then I transferred with my associate's degree to Central, and that's when I took out loans.
Gotcha.
So
did you pay for the first 2 years basically out of your own pocket?
Yeah, I just paid for that out of pocket because I had for the time, I had a really good job. I had to get up at a stupid hour in the morning, and so I went to school at night, and I was constantly tired.
Yeah.
But I was able, I had time in the day to work, and then had enough money to...
And your degree that you got, did you have multiple degrees or just the one?
No.
Multiple?
Yeah.
What were your degree? One was anthropology, right?
And English.
And English.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting combination.
Well, so I haven't talked about this a lot. English was supposed to be a print communication job. I wanted to write for a newspaper or magazine, something like that.
Gotcha.
But that is, as I started that program, the internet was this crazy thing that was starting to make a rise.
Yeah.
And the print communication industry saw the writing on the wall, and I kind of looked at it and went, ugh. But I had already started down a course of study, so I figured, well, if I get a degree in English, that should be evidence that I can write and think, and digest information.
Yeah.
And the anthropology was actually an accident. It was supposed to be a minor, but the classes were so damn interesting. I just kept taking them.
Yeah.
Because I'll just use them as elective credits.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, it turned out to be a whole other degree.
And but I'm biased because I always wanted my degree in archaeology or paleontology or anthropology.
Well, those are all disciplines of anthropology.
Yeah, I'm not enough. I don't know enough about all of that, right? But I wanted that field of study, right?
There's no money in it,
and that's what my dad told me.
Yeah, none.
Back in the late 80s, as I was preparing to go to college or whatever, my dad literally looked at me and goes, "Indiana Jones doesn't make money."
I dabbled very briefly my senior year. I dabbled with the Kittitas County Sheriff's Department. They needed some forensics work done. They had some skeletal remains of a woman who'd been shot in the back of the head and dumped in a ditch. And so they were trying to figure out who she was.
Gotcha.
So we did a skeletal reconstruction, like old school.
Yep.
You know, this is way before
where you
all
put
the
little
computer
pads
stuff.
on the skull.
Yeah,
and
you had
each
to
one
find
is,
the depth of the skin and then and work out from
that
there.
to me is one of the most incredibly fascinating fields with subfield within.
Yeah. It's creepy. I didn't sleep for a couple of weeks.
Wow.
Because there was a human being.
Yeah.
And we never we knew lots about her, but we didn't know enough to bring about an identity or anything.
Now, did you follow on with that stuff, like, and find out if they were ever able to identify her?
No, they would have reached out to me.
Okay.
Because of I was one of the people that was part of the work,
Okay.
so I would have been called for a court case, but it never came to be.
Okay.
It was just that experience explained to me that, or showed me, I guess, that I wasn't ready to work in that industry and deal with the ugly side of human nature. I just, I don't think I'd have very good mental health. You know, dealing with something like that day in and day out, seeing the awful side of people.
Yeah. Yeah, I can understand that. It's tough, fascinating field of study. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I wanted to go down that route. Never got the opportunity to because my dad literally had told me,
he's right. I mean, there's
like no money in it.
Yeah, there's no money in it. There's no way to make a living.
Yeah.
That's why I went into the trades. I became an electrician.
And that's the one thing that I always thought that argument about all of that stuff was so offensive to a lot of people. You know, like Andy, who was working on the show for a long time, like sold off her house so that she could pay off her student loans.
Yeah.
You know, and people that went to trade school and stuff,
that's how I paid off my student loans.
Yeah, but they didn't get, you went to trade school, you learned how to be a welder or a carpenter or or whatever. They didn't. Those folks aren't getting any help. So it's the people who pick themselves up by their bootstraps, theoretically, right? Because who went to trade school? It wasn't the people whose parents were college educated,
right? And one, it wasn't the kids that were the favorite of the guidance counselor or whatever back in our day. It was that kid with the long hair playing Pantera and Metallica, and generally disruptive during class, and that's the guy that's probably doing okay now if he went through trade school, auto shop, wood shop, got into if you're working with your hands, you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
I mean, your body may not.
It's been crazy. Hey, listen, do me a favor. Take this really quick. Just read an article or something. I got an emergency call coming in.
Oh. Okie dokie. Well,
Story or something.
yeah, hey, no,
Read a story.
Dennis and
You'll
I'll
be
sit here and
fine.
talk about something. we were kind of between topics there. So I was like, read a story about what?
Yeah. And like all my student loan stuff was from trade school stuff that I never finished anyway.
Right.
Because I found out, they didn't stick to exactly what was explained to me by the counseling department. And we want all your money back right now.
Right. Yeah.
We're not waiting till after you're done.
Yeah. See, so after I came home from school and I got into the trades, I started working as an electrician, and I figured out that hey, this stuff kind of works for me and makes sense. I was able to use those skills to pay for the college that I don't regret. I mean, I'd like to think I'm a reasonably intelligent monkey, and it also helped me discover that the tech side of my brain worked out okay, because I did try to go to school for some electrical engineering, but the school that I started working with was one of the early online schools, and after they got all of their money from me, they lost their accreditation and went out of business.
Yeah, that's bad, boo boo.
Yeah, so that cost me a chunk, but
yeah, I thought about doing electrical work at one point in time because I had a respect for it, but
we have a good brain for it,
and understand lots of parts, and I did all the math required. I was just like,
there's a fair bit of math, but you have a good brain for it because you understand the flow of signals. I mean, you set up all kinds of audio equipment, and it's really the same idea. Just make sure that your signal flows from this point to that point, and they don't cross streams.
Don't cross the streams. Yes, that doesn't work well. It doesn't like it when you do that. Oh, on a different note, I take a moment and promote Friday night, 6:30 p.m. right here on Mega Talk Radio. High school football returns.
Yes.
First game of the season, we'll have, I believe, K-Mac calling the action. Clahalia traveling to North Mason to take on the Bulldogs.
Oh, that'll be a good game.
So 6:30 p.m. kickoff.
6:30 p.m. kickoff on Friday.
Yep.
Good. Very nice.
And a possibility of an event coming up August 26th from 5 to 10, 6 to Callow. They're doing a big Halloween trunk or treat.
Is that is that a Doc Blackwell thing?
He's somewhat involved.
Okay.
And I may be dragging some equipment out there and DJing.
Oh, nice.
So I probably got to take a PA out if I want to do it this time. So,
okay.
But, yep, that's a possibility. We now return you to your regularly scheduled programming.
Am I on? Okay.
There we go.
Yeah. So when you have a farm, every once in a while something happens, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so my Andalusian mare, she's a real escape artist. And she's learned how to use her lips to lift the chain out of the slot for the gate and let herself out.
Oh, you crafty girl.
Yeah. And because she's so good at that, I keep my chicken feed in lock top containers.
Right.
Because you don't want a horse to get into chicken feed.
No.
Yeah. Well, apparently she's taught herself to unscrew the lid off of one.
Oh, no.
And so, we have two types. We have medicated chicken feed
and
non-medicated chicken feed.
The medicated would not be good for the horse.
You're right. That would be like
bad.
have the vet come out, pump the stomach immediately. So my wife was in full panic because she got home, horse was in the barn in the chicken feed. And so she had to verify which chicken feed she was into. So, there's nothing worse than when your wife keeps calling you. She knows that I'm here, right? And then she texts me this red flashing light, and I'm like, oh crap,
Yep.
So it's like, okay, I got it. I didn't mean to leave you like that.
Oh, that's okay.
And it just, but it's the one thing about having I have a farm.
Yeah.
I would probably call it a hobby farm.
Sure. You still have livestock
But
that
I have
needs
livestock.
attention.
Yeah. And we're slowly expanding into getting more miniature horses. That's what I'd like to get.
Mhm.
Some more, and I actually want to get. You'll dig this. I want to get a miniature Highland cow. Have you seen them?
I have not.
Oh my God, they're so cool.
What are you going to do with it?
I'm gonna love on him, man. Just like I
Okay.
love on my mini horse.
Is it going to be a pet?
There is, pasture pet. But here's the thing. You know what I really want to do with them, with the minis?
I want to be able to take them to, put them in the horse trailer and take them to like kids' birthday parties.
Okay.
Not to make money, just to be able to something to do, because a lot of kids never get an opportunity to experience livestock.
Yeah.
So and then I was gonna I was thought about maybe taking them to places like nursing homes and recovery centers and like the Alzheimer's.
Yeah,
homes,
if
stuff
you
like
get an
that.
animal with the right temperament. Yeah.
It's just about providing that as a thing for people.
My dad does that.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, my dad's got a really cool border collie, and he is the most focused, relaxed. He's a really calming animal, which is unusual for a border collie. They're usually just
hyper as heck,
spastic. Yeah.
And
so he ended up putting his dog through the therapy training.
Oh,
and he became a certified therapy dog.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so my dad will take him over to the veterans home and stuff, and he'll go hang out with the old vets, and they talk some old war stories and stuff.
I love that, and we have our cattle dogs, and with Hunter's condition that he got after having the reaction to the vaccine, my one little girl, a little red healer, I took her and had her trained. We did a bunch of scent training so that she could smell if something was. I guess before you have a seizure, there's a chemical that's released, and they can smell it about 60 seconds before.
I had a fencing student that had an alert dog for that very thing. Man, coolest dog, but she and that dog scared the hell out of me more times than I can count during workouts.
The dog scared you?
Yeah, because he alerted, and my student was about to go into a seizure.
Okay, I got
you.
Yeah, like, what do I do? Yeah. Well, I hope the student gave you instructions before that ever happened.
Oh, she did.
Hey, thanks for tuning in with us tonight, Outlaw Radio Network. We will be back on Sunday. Be there or be square. Remember that?
I do.
All right. Good night, everybody.